How can a woman change the fate of a nation? What can she sacrifice for this cause? And what about those who lived the same destiny for their own people 1400 years ago? Lean back and surrender yourself to the epic story of two different women. How did a young peasant girl change the fate of an entire nation? Here's the incredible and unforgettable story of Joan of Arc. Born in Domremy village in 1412, Joan was an ordinary farmer's daughter, but fate would write a completely different story. France was suffering heavy losses in the 100 Years' War against England. The people were in great despair. At 13, Joan began hearing divine voices from heaven. Saint Michael commanded her to save France. Villagers called her mad and mocked her, but Joan had unwavering faith in the sacred mission God gave her. At 17, she convinced the local commander of this impossible mission. It seemed impossible to everyone, but she had succeeded. She disguised her identity by wearing men's clothing. She embarked on a dangerous journey to reach Dauphin Charles. Everyone at court mocked this peasant girl, but Joan recognized the prince from the crowd without any hesitation. Charles was greatly astonished and amazed. How had this girl recognized him? He began to believe in Joan's power. Church authorities interrogated her for hours, but Joan's faith and intelligence deeply impressed them all. She wore white armor and proudly carried her sacred banner. Now she was a warrior and savior. She courageously led the siege of Orleans. Soldiers were amazed by this young girl's extraordinary courage. She was wounded by an arrow but continued fighting with determination. The miracle happened and Orleans was saved. She ran from victory to victory and reclaimed the Loire Valley. The French people were filled with great hope again. She successfully accomplished Charles' coronation ceremony. An 18-year-old girl changed destiny and created kings. But jealousy and betrayal were lurking in ambush. At Compiègne, she was captured and taken prisoner by the Burgundians. She was sold to the English for money. The king she saved betrayed her and ruthlessly abandoned her to fate. She was accused of witchcraft and sorcery. Even wearing men's clothing was a crime. Only revenge was being sought. She was left completely alone and defenseless. But she never gave up her faith. Her love for God was unshakable. On May 30th, 1431, she was burned in Rouen Square. At 19 years young age, she perished in flames. With her last breath, she said, "Jesus." Even the executioner who burned her wept. At that moment, a saint was born. After her death, France won the war. Joan's dream had come true. Her country was liberated. Centuries later, the Church declared her a saint. Her name and memory will live forever. Joan of Arc changed history with her courage and faith. This magnificent story inspires us all. About 1400 years before this story, a peaceful Celtic village. Prepare for the saga. How did one woman challenge the mighty Roman Empire? Here's an incredible story of resistance. 60 CE, Eastern Britain. Queen Boudica of the Iceni tribe lived peacefully with her husband Prasutagus. But when the king died, the Roman Empire broke their agreement. They seized Boudica's lands and humiliated her. Roman soldiers whipped Boudica and assaulted her daughters. This brutality ignited the fires of revenge. Boudica swore an oath. Rome would pay for what they did. She began uniting tribes. The rebellion was growing. Thousands of Celtic warriors gathered under her leadership. Men, women, young, old, everyone was ready to fight for freedom. The first target was the city of Camulodunum. This symbol of Roman pride was completely destroyed by Boudica's army. Rome's 9th Legion rushed to help, but Boudica's warriors ambushed them and destroyed them completely. As news of victory spread, more tribes joined the revolt. Boudica now led an army of 100,000. Londinium, today's London, was the next target. Romans abandoned the city. Boudica's army set it ablaze. Verulamium shared the same fate. 3 great Roman cities were destroyed. This was an unprecedented rebellion in imperial history. Roman governor Suetonius Paulinus hurried back. The experienced commander was planning to stop Boudica. Suetonius chose a strategic location, a narrow valley. It was the perfect battlefield for the outnumbered Romans. Boudica addressed her army from her war chariot. "Today, freedom or death, we will end Rome's tyranny." Celtic warriors attacked with great enthusiasm, but Rome's disciplined legions countered with the testudo formation. In the narrow space, Celtic numerical advantage was useless. Roman spears and swords advanced mercilessly. The battle turned into a massacre. Boudica's army scattered. Tens of thousands of Celtic warriors perished. Boudica could not accept defeat. According to legend, she ended her life with poison rather than fall into Roman hands. But her story didn't end. Boudica became a symbol for all peoples fighting for freedom. Her name lived for centuries. Today there's a statue of her in London. In the city she once burned, she now stands as a symbol of courage and resistance. Boudica showed us that standing against oppression is always worthwhile. Even in defeat, her struggle became an inspiration. Throughout history, many women followed in her footsteps. Once the fire of freedom ignites, it never dies. Here is Boudica's epic. One woman's courage shook an empire. Her spirit still lives on in freedom fighters. Which story do you think is more impressive? We're waiting for your comments and subscription to our channel. If you enjoyed this video, you can also watch the same video or similar content in different languages. You can find the access links to our channels, which we broadcast in English, German, Spanish, French, and Turkish in the description area.